Welcome to the Guitar Arrangers Podcast, the greatest guitar arrangers podcast in the history of the universe.
Very nice. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're here today with my old buddy, Lemuel Lugo, guitarist, professor, arranger extraordinaire. Yeah, everybody give him a hand. Give him a hand.
Thank you, guys.
So we're just going to dive right into this interview. The people are dying to know, Lemuel, when were you born? Where were you born? Tell us the origin story.
The origin story. Well, I'm from Puerto Rico. That's the first thing, right? I'm from the 80s, 86.
He's a man of the 80s.
Now. Yeah. So 35 years, something like that.
Yeah. And did you play guitar like when you were a kid, or did you come into it later?
I'm kind of like a teen guitarist because maybe 12, 13 years. Many people start like earlier. Many people also start later, but I'm kind of like a teen guitar player. So back then I started playing, I don't know, with the friends, and then I took it seriously to a music school. So that's more or less the route I have taken with my guitar skills.
And did you start with classical guitar or another kind of guitar?
Spanish guitar, you can say. You know, doing chords, doing songs. Back then, Spanish rock was a thing. Like usually there's pop music, but in Puerto Rico we had more rock bands in Spanish, and so that was kind of the scene we had back then. But usually in Puerto Rico or Latin countries, guitar is everywhere. So you do pop music, folk music. So that kind of permeates to just learning guitar.
So if I may delve even deeper, so we're talking, you played a nylon string acoustic guitar in these sort of Spanish rock bands.
Yeah. That was the thing. So that's kind of the normal guitar here. I think in the US or other countries is more the steel string guitar. So
or an electric guitar.
Or electric guitar. Yeah.
Does it have them mixed together in the Spanish rock, or is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if you are a singer songwriter, you usually have your nylon string. Like Jose Feliciano, maybe it's like a good starting point for how things work back here.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, and we're gonna get into that later too. I love to hear people's like influences and stuff. But let's see. Next question. What made you decide to get like serious with the guitar and make that leap from playing Spanish rock music, playing with your friends, maybe songwriter type, who studying in like a conservatory and studying? Do you do like classical guitar at that conservatory? Is it like an academy of contemporary music? Tell us about that.
Well, let's say I studied in the place that I work right now. So it's called Escuela Libre de Música, Antonio Paoli from Caguas, which is a town. So in that school, it's more like serious. So you learn to read, you learn to read music, read guitar music. So it's mostly classical music. Then when you graduate, then you go to, if you want to pursue a career in music, you go to the Conservatory. So the Conservatory is one of those main institutions that you go to study music. There's also other universities, but it's more focused on popular music. So
interesting.
Yeah. So,
is there more than one conservatory of classical music in Puerto Rico where you could study classical guitar? Or
technically, there's just one, but other universities also teach classical music. But so there's the classical university, and then there is the popular music, and that's the Inter-American University, which started that program. But now there are various universities that teach music. So it's changed from time to time. So
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty fascinating.
I say sometimes that music chooses one. Like you sometimes you like to study music and you have that fantasy of, oh, let's learn more. But in a sense, also music chooses you, and you have to like build your skills and be responsible with the talent that you have. So
Yeah, I love that.
that's one of the things that you think about when why I'm in this, why I'm in music. It's just music sometimes chooses you.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. And one of the questions that I'm curious about here is sort of establishing this timeline, because you said that you studied at the Escuela Libre de Música and also the Conservatory of Music of Puerto Rico. Now, what's the timeline for that? Are we talking like you're around like high school age, like 15 to 18 years old at first, and then conservatory? Once you hit 18, you're off to the conservatory?
Yeah, conservatory is university level, but then the other school is more high school level. So, and a little bit of a backstory. Those schools in Puerto Rico, like many music schools in the US too, they were founded maybe in the 50s, 1950s, more or less, right? And it's a big influence in Puerto Rico at that time by some politicians, especially Ernesto Ramos Antonini, which is let's say the father of those music schools and the Conservatory. And he's also linked with Pablo Casals. So Pablo Casals and the people in that time, they pushed to have those schools built and have a musical scene in Puerto Rico. So the Libre de Música were one of those institutions, the Conservatory, to build new musicians. And it's also tied with the symphonic orchestra. So that was a huge cultural development back then. So
wow,
it's part of that history. So it's really good to share that with all of you guys too.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Like I guess I didn't realize that all these institutions are only 70 to 50 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
Basically that. That's
really cool. That's super cool. And I mean, now you said you're teaching back in the same Escuela Libre de Música, or
are
we talking? Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's really nice. It kind of brings it full circle.
Yeah. It's really that, I think if something similar to my school is what you call magnet schools in the US, or just schools of music which have talent in music or fine arts. So it's more specialized in music.
Yeah, that reminds me of a school called Class in Oklahoma, where it's like the kids have to audition in order to get in, and they get some normal schooling, but it's very heavily focused on like the arts and music and things like that.
It's almost like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool. I always wished I went to a school like that when I was in high school, but I did not have good enough grades. But sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just a school that kids go, and instead of shooting guns or doing bad stuff, they just play music and they found their talents, right? So it's that kind of place.
Yeah, and the videos that you showed me of your students playing are I mean, really incredible. I mean, these are like high school aged children who are playing in this huge ensemble that's like a multi-plucked string ensemble with percussion added to it. And you take, these influences of Puerto Rican music and like mainland US music and guitar arranging, and you mix them all together to make this really incredible pedagogical experience, an incredible listening experience on the audience behalf, all for the students. So it's really crazy. I mean, tell us about, how did you get the idea that you would put all of these instruments together into one ensemble and that you would arrange the music that you're arranging? How did you start getting into that?
Yeah. So in Puerto Rico and mostly Latin America, there's a tradition of rondallas. Rondallas and tunas, they're kind of similar in a way. Tunas are, it's almost like a brotherhood or almost like a fraternity that college students, they just hang together, sing, and just look for food. So that's a college thing back then. You know, when I'm talking about college or universities, I'm talking about 1500s, even way back. So it's more of a academic or scholarly thing. And rondallas is from that tradition. In Puerto Rico, it's more instrumental, like pluck strings, percussion, etc. So in Puerto Rico, basically a rondalla is a place or a group where you gather a lot of those instruments and you play things together, right? Usually it's more focused on Latin music or Latin American music and pop music, right? So we don't tend to play slow songs. We play more fast beat songs and liven up the party. I don't know if in Puerto Rico Christmas is pretty, you know, it's a long party. It starts in November and ends on January, half of January, even further. So that's the peak of rondalla playing and parrandas. I'm playing how you call it, Christmas carols. So
Oh, that's fun.
it's more of that tradition of playing in the Christmas, right?
Doesn't it get cold? Doesn't it get cold in the winter time?
Well, cold for us is 70 degrees.
Oh
Maybe
man,
60. That we're freezing there. So, but it never gets down there. So it's really different.
that's nice though for the instruments because you can't take all those instruments out in the cold. So that's nice.
Yeah. Usually it's humid, but that is, you know, that's part of the climate.
Hmm. Wow, that's super fun. So, what kind of, as far as all of the different instruments going on in the ensemble, like in the videos that you showed me, could you kind of, explain how many different, because you got a whole set of plucked string instruments, at least two or three, and then you've got several percussion instruments as well.
So we have mandolins, which are the higher pitched instruments. Violin, right? So then we have cuatro. Yeah, that's a mandolin. That's a Celtic mandolin. Mandolins are kind of cool instruments if you look to the history of it. So,
they're so old.
They're old. They are from lots of places. So it's kind of a universal instrument. They have different shapes and forms. So our mandolins, they're more Spanish mandolins. So it's more of a flat top flat top and flat back mandolins.
Oh, okay.
So they don't have the Fs. They don't have the. We usually don't have the lute mandolins. We are more like a pear shape.
Okay.
They're more flat, so they look like a drop, and maybe you call that in the U.S. A-shaped. I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So that's the mandolin we use. Then we have Puerto Rican cuatro, which is if the mandolin is high, then the cuatro is intermediate. The first thing I think is G. So it's not a high pitch, nor lower pitch. So, and the Puerto Rican cuatro is our our national instrument. So cuatro comes from maybe since Christopher Columbus went to Puerto Rico, the cuatro started. That's more or less the history. So mandolin, cuatro, we have guitars. Usually guitars in our folk music is more accompaniment. So they just play chords. They just give our rhythms to the ensemble. Then bass is really important. So electric bass. And usually our percussion is Latin percussion. So we have congas, bongos, claves, which is the little sticks. maracas. I usually use a cajon also. Sometimes they call it Peruvian cajon. So yeah, more or less like that. So usually Latin percussion is congas, bongos, maracas, all that kind of stuff. We use it on the rondalla.
Yeah, and it's so funny. I was listening to several of the recordings that you sent because I listened to many of like your student recitals and playing with this group where you have the 4 different ranges of plucked string instruments and the percussion. And I was listening with my fiance, who's also a doctorate level musician. And, we were both like, wow, they're so together. Normally when you're listening to guitar ensemble, I think one of the biggest complaints of people is that the way that, the guitar plucks are so articulated when they're not together, it's very noticeable. But something about having that mix of the instruments with the percussion seems to really lock everybody in the ensemble. And, you said these are just high school level ensembles in many cases. They are so together, like more together than, many college level, performances that I've been in. It's crazy how much it just changes the game having percussion.
Yeah, that's a trick. Usually, there's not if you take out the percussion, it happens. All the things that you said, it just happens because you take your time, and then when you play the strings, and you're a little bit late, but you have a percussion or you have a bass, and then okay, you have that cue. It pushes you to play on time to just be together. So it's a little secret that put a basis and some percussion, and you will have a better ensemble. That's comes naturally.
Yes, and I saw some of the scores that you sent me. I was wondering, are there any songs for which you transcribe every single instrument part, including the percussion?
Usually, that's a good subject because percussionists, they don't like to read music, especially Latin percussionists. They more or less they want the pattern. So if you write a pattern, you write it first, and the parts you go together. I don't know how we call that. Well, you write the parts that you want the rhythm, and
right.
That's usually what you kind of write on a percussion and bass part. So because it's popular music, you're not gonna write every note unless you want something specific. So
yeah,
when I ask our percussion teachers, they tell me always that you just write measures,
less
write
is more,
pattern, and let the guys play, because at the end of the day, a lot of those Latin rhythms, they have their names, they have their form of playing, and as a guitar player, you don't know that, so if you're talking about the salsa, so there is guaguancó, there is song, guajira, all those things, they know. So the conga has to play a certain way, and then the students sometimes know more than the teacher, so you just let them, and there's a kind of symbiotic relationship, because maybe the student doesn't know how to play what I'm asking, but they ask their teacher, so the teacher then collaborates without being a direct question to them. So this is like a homework for them to know how to play it. So
yeah, I was thinking about, what is the word for like a rhythmic group? Is it clave?
Yeah, Latin
clave.
music. Yeah, what you call the beat in 4x4 is the clave in Latin music, and is what brings things together.
Are there any claves which are specific to Puerto Rican music?
Yes and no. The clave usually is or inverse is. So like all Latin music has clave, has to have clave. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4. So
yeah, that's interesting. That's so interesting.
and it's not only the rhythm, it's also the phrasing of all the melodies. Has to be attached to that. So if it sounds out of clave, then for me it will sound weird. So you have to be like really careful to not mix it up, not mess up.
So you might write down, like if you're writing the score, you might write out the 4 string instrument parts and maybe like some chords overhead, like some chord symbols overhead, and then maybe you write like the name, or you write the clave type something, instead of having to transcribe all that percussion.
Yeah, instead of writing swing time or jazz time, usually write that on the beginning of a score. Then you write clave 3-2, clave 3-2 or clave 2-3.
Yeah, instead of like medium bossa or up tempo or something. Clave such and such. That's cool. That's so sick. Wow. Okay, I've got another question. How about your arranging process? What do you use? Use MuseScore, Sibelius, Finale?
I've used Sibelius from the start, but I've used MuseScore for a long time too. So it's really similar. It's a great tool if you don't want to pay Sibelius. So, but I find it that is, for what it is more than enough. So you can use MuseScore and do all the arranging that you want there. Yeah, I think MuseScore has a library too, so I've used that a lot over the time. So like
I see,
reference material for arranging. There's usually more how can I call this, English songs or US songs.
Right.
There's some Latin songs, but mostly it's from the US or more popular music. So
yeah, a lot of popular mainland songs.
Good reference material that you can have there to start some kind of arrangement or a melody or good.
Yeah. Yeah, I always find the reference material kind of funny because whenever you see like simple transcriptions of other melodies, they're always like way too oversimplified, you know? Like I saw the other day, I saw Hey Jude that was all quarter notes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, how do you even and the students try and play it like the way that they hear it in their heads, but on paper it's like, hey Jude, don't make it bad, just all quarter notes. What is the balance you strike there? Do you have the students, do you ever write out melodies that are kind of complicated, just knowing the students have heard this before, or do you try to simplify it and have them do like a reduced version?
So it really depends. If you have a really elemental or basic level, then you have to do it. So there's no way. If you have a lot of syncopation, you cannot expect that from a student that is really basic. So you have to first aim at what you're going to arrange, right? Even so, if you are pro or just playing, professionally, you sometimes have to simplify songs. So you have to strike a balance of what sounds good for the voice and what sounds good for the guitar or saxophone or whatever, because you realize that sometimes melodies are not reading really well when they sing it, because they have a lot of embellishments or mannerisms or all that stuff. So it doesn't translate as good to the guitar as maybe other things. So you have to do it at all levels. You have to simplify sometimes.
Yeah, I'm really fascinated by this topic of like guitar arranging mixed with pedagogy, and how can we use guitar arranging to make stuff that's more suitable for the students that we're trying to teach, both in terms of their personal taste and their abilities and the kinds of instruments that they want to play and things like that. One of the things that comes up a lot in arranging for a guitar ensemble is that you arrange the part 1 like really tough and the part 4 like really easy. But since you have different instruments where you have like the mandolin is the top instrument, the quattro is the second top sort of middle, and then you have guitar underneath that and then bass last, do you ever like write like a crazy bass solo or something for the kids to play?
Yeah, guitar also can do bass parts too, so so you have to like know your group if you have the opportunity, right? Because sometimes you can arrange for for anything, but if you have something specific that you want to do, then you like visualize, oh, this group can do this, so let's kind of do something crazy there.
Yeah.
But,
do you ever have a go ahead.
No, you can give a solo, or you can do an instrumental interlude or introduction.
Do you ever have a student who is like showing exceptional promise, and so you have like a solo in mind for them, or you make like a solo out of the song?
Yeah, in this concert that I did last week, I had a guest, which is a little guy, 80 years old. His teacher wanted to play, or he wanted him to play Imagine from John Lennon. So basically he did the solo part, like the melody, and then I kind of arranged the other part for Rondalla for the group. It was a nice featuring, and I've sometimes done that. So that's kind of cool when you have a soloist and then you do an arrangement. Also, maybe you have a solo for a specific group of instruments. Sometimes I have songs that they have a solo break for mandolin or a solo break for the cuatro. So you can play with those stuff, if you want the guitar to be different, maybe you can change the rhythm, not be the same rhythm all the time. So I think you can start a song in bossa nova and then change things up. Those kind of things, they mix up your arrangements and they bring things to life. So everything doesn't have to be like the song, the original song. You can do crazy stuff to it, and it will mostly sound good if you plan it ahead or visualize it.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Like, I don't know, just listen to you talk about this. The musician or composer that comes to my mind when I think about all this stuff is Vivaldi. You're like the Vivaldi of the future, Lemuel, where you're like using an economy of all this material, and you're like tailoring all this ensemble music for the specific students and the ones who have ideas about like wanting to do solos or show promise. Like, you can tailor solos exactly to them. You can like tailor the song to specific instruments that they're playing. So it's so fascinating. I could ask you questions about this all day.
And then you also have inspiration from other people. So when you're in a music school, you can find inspiration with symphonic bands. You can have inspiration from the jazz group. Oh, this number sounds good. Let's try to do it on an ensemble. So that's a good thing to have when you are not just with the guitar or with the guitar role. You have to look other places too.
Yeah.
What kind of guitar students do you have? Like, are they all classical guitar students, all your classical guitar students, or are
I have variety? Yeah, I have a variety. I have one that will graduate now, and he play a lot of classical guitar. So, but he also plays cuatro, and he also is my bassist. So he has a talented student. His name is Julio. So shout out to him. And I have everything. I have students that they like to play a little bit. I have students that like to play a lot. So, but mostly classical. If they don't steer to that guitar playing, then I have to complement it with other stuff, right? So maybe more chords, maybe a solo that is in classical, like a guitar solo piece, and try to steer them the way that they can they can play it with their abilities, right? Because classical music is a little bit more serious, is more tough, is more you have to do it this way, and people sometimes they don't want to be that way, and you have to like, okay, but let's try this, or let's try that, and you will be surprised what all the stuff that you can do that way too.
Yeah, you're using arranging to like meet the kids where they're at.
Yeah. You have to do that sometimes, and it's especially if you want to retain them or maintain their interest. I don't know. I think it was you, Thomas, or something you wrote that you have to speak to the students and know what their interests are. So when you ask them what their favorite artist or what songs do you hear, why do you like them, why don't you like this song, then something happens to their head that brings the spark of oh, I like music. Why I like music? So that's really important part of teaching too, talking to them and know their interests.
Yeah, it's really strange when I talk to kids these days. I got so many kids where you ask them what their favorite song is, they can't tell you. But if you asked all three of us what our favorite song is, we'd be like, what do you want, a list? So it's definitely like those things go hand in hand. Those kids, they really got to be interested in that music. So if you can arrange something that they choose or that that they're interested in, what's the whole classical label, it's meaningless at that point. You're making an acoustic song that has the same technical demands that reaches the level of the kids. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So, man, it's just so fascinating. I'm so jealous. I want my own plucked string orchestra. Yeah. Oh, okay. So here's my follow-up question though with Tony's question. So, this group that you're teaching, is it do you teach these students as private students on the side, or are there students in the ensemble who do private lessons with other teachers and then they just do the ensemble with you?
So the way is taught, right, in that school, you have your private class with your teacher. So I don't have all those students are not my students, private students. Sorry. So I have some of them which are mine, and some of them are from other teachers, and we have a group, right? This year I think there were 25. Usually it's more of a 35 to 40 student ensemble, so usually it's bigger. But with COVID and all the things that happened, it's a little bit less this year. So the idea of the group is the musical laboratory. So you have your individual class, and that's your lab. That's the place that you go to the class. Maybe you don't know too much. You don't know the repertoire, so you're lost. You don't know what's happening. There are people that they know more than you, so you have to know your place in I don't know, hierarchy you call that. Some people play more than you, and you have to accept that. So the students that are new, so I'll tell them you're gonna be lost, but you have to practice, and little by little, if you start on August, on December, you will know the songs. That's what's supposed to happen. Even if you know all the songs on November, that's what happens, Or maybe you are from August to May, and in May you feel comfortable playing. So that's what I usually start. And then when you have a more experienced player, then they have to pass on what they know too. So I tell them, you have to collaborate, you have to help these other guys when they start because they don't know too much, and you have to be more patient. So it's part of the process, right? I think it's the organic way of learning sometimes, because not everybody knows everything, and you have to build a group. You have to build yourself so everybody can be better. So it's something like that,
Yeah. I mean, it's super Fascinating. Yeah, I have a very similar approach sometimes with the kids, where sometimes you really just got to throw them in the deep end and let them make mistakes and let them struggle. And I think some of the best learning experiences that I've ever had have been from being in a group, and you get the shell shock of, oh my gosh, playing this music when trying to match everybody else in the ensemble versus when I'm just dinking around at home playing through chords or a melody. It's so different.
And it happens with everybody. So you have I remember I had a bassist for a long time, and he didn't play with any group, so he started with my group. And when he graduated, he was playing for everybody. So it was with my group, with the band, with this guy, with the other guy, other teachers. And you can hear how he develops, because the bass is electric bass. You kind of create your own style, right? You don't play the same notes all the time. You kind of fill things up, like a drummer also, and percussion. So when you start out with the guitar, with the cuatro, it's the same thing. You feel lost, or you don't project as much with the instrument, but at the end of the day you feel more comfortable and you play more.
All right, here we go. I got maybe like two other questions, but they're pretty off topic.
Sure.
All right, so here's a slightly off topic question. If you could make everybody in the audience listen to a song or a musical artist or a band, what would you have them listen to? Like, who's in your top 5? Who's in Lemuel's top 5?
Really? Okay. Well, I have to pay homage to my teacher. Ivan Rijos always told me that everybody should hear the well-tempered clavier.
Yeah.
So that's a good starting point for anybody, really. Even if you're just hearing it on the way to work or just sleeping.
Are you talking about on guitar?
No, on
okay.
Or whatever. That's a great starting point for everybody, because everything is laid out there. So I think that's the first one, I think. I don't know. The good thing with Pepe also, he has recorded a lot of stuff. So if you want to know about guitar, that's a good name to bring out. So if we talk about guitar, Pepe Romero has Aranjuez, he plays Villalobos, he plays Spanish music, he plays he has so many recordings. So
yeah, the guy's a sea of recordings. It's crazy how many. It's crazy what happens when you start recording at like 15.
And also, I think John Williams also has a lot of. I think Pepe is more the Spanish guy, and John Williams is more the other part, the English guy, Australian guy, that kind of look. And he has done his stuff, and
that's interesting. I'm surprised how many of your suggestions are not Puerto Rico specific.
No, yeah, I'm just talking about guitar in general, right? So yeah, about Latin music. Latin music has a lot of artists. I don't know where to start. Many people talk about Gran Combo, La Fania. So that's a good starting point for Latin music, if you want to talk about Latin music. The thing about music in general is that you just hear it on the street. So I think if you are from another place that is not a Latin place, then you don't know many of those genres or styles. So you have to put Latin music on Spotify or something like that, so to hear some kind of artists like that.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Living here in the cornfields of Ohio, I'm not as introduced to different kinds of Latin music as much as I used to when I lived in like Phoenix, Arizona. And there'd be Latin bands playing outside of the school sometimes, and you'd hear Latin music all the time.
I think the U.S. That's the only thing that I see when I travel there, that this is a big place, and sometimes it's so much regionalized, where in all Latin America, they know all the Latin artists. That you go to Mexico, they know these artists. They go to Venezuela, they know a lot of the same artists too. So it's a curious topic about that. Yeah, I don't know, the current artists that I really like for Latin music. That's a good question. Current artists. I don't know.
It could be current artists that you know are your favorite disco artists too. I'm not trying to pigeonhole you into one genre or the other.
I don't want to say it.
No.
Because I think that the most popular Latin artist is Bad Bunny right now. So I think he has brought a lot of things to the table for Latin music. Yeah, I don't know. I think you can start with hearing a lot of old salsa records. You have a good reference for Latin music. So Fania, Gran Combo, La Sonora Ponceña. Yeah. Buenavista Social Club has done a lot of good work too over the years too. So Tito Puente, Jose Feliciano, all those people. Actually, Jose Feliciano, you learn a lot about stuff from people, old people and people on the streets. He was really famous for his guitar playing. So people remember him for singing, but also for playing guitar, and he's still going around doing stuff. So
awesome. Well, that's a lot of stuff to dig into. I got one last question for you. I don't know, maybe Tony's got some questions after me, but what other kind of stuff do you like to do with your time? You got any hobbies?
Well, I have about my music side, is passion and playing and teaching. So that's kind of becomes your hobby too. I'm kind of into recording now, but
cool.
I don't know, just going to the beach, having a good time. that I can say that because I'm in Puerto Rico, so you can easily go to the beach and have fun there. So that's a good hobby too.
That's
going
amazing.
out with the wife, doing just normal stuff. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah,
Watching,
do you like to
classical guitar arranging podcasts?
I like that idea.
I'm kind of like all the things that are happening now with YouTube and podcasts. You can see a lot of artists too, different type of artists. So I'm kind of into that because you can see a lot of the guitar world that you didn't see before, and it's kind of curious. So you can see, video game music. You can see Pepe Romero. You can see other pianists, and I kind of like as an audience member, I kind of like that. You can choose whatever you want to see too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, do you ever play volleyball on the beach? Get down with any beach shenanigans?
Yeah,
dig a giant hole for no reason.
Swimming, snorkeling. That's kind of cool, actually. If you have the chance to go snorkeling or just put some goggles on and just swim in the sea. That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah. Can you see any of the little critters underneath the water? Yeah. Really? That's cool.
Well,
that's so awesome.
You have to be really careful, right? Go to a beach that is safe. Yeah.
That's intense.
Yeah, no, really. A lot of tourists doesn't have good experiences because the sea is too rough. So you have to know your what you can do on the sea too. So
yeah, you can't play guitar in there.
No, well, you can bring it to the beach. You can bring it to the sand. Well, I have an anecdote. I think because Pepe Angel Romero, I think he's the guy that always has a guitar on his trunk of his car. And he goes every day to the beach and play guitar in the beach. I think that is a thing, actually.
Interesting. Every day he goes to the beach. He plays his guitar.
Yeah, practice on the beach.
I don't even have a beach nearby.
Yeah, I can do that.
Might have to go to the local McDonald's or something. That's the closest I could get, to the beach where I live.
Maybe a park or something nice. So.
Yeah. And people are like, man, this guy's so committed. Every day he comes here to McDonald's and plays his guitar arrangements.
The golden arches.
Yeah. Your hair like blowing in the breeze, like Ben Verdery style.
Yeah, my hair and the McDonald's burger wrapper flowing in the breeze. There we go. Sponsor us, McDonald's. Anyways, thank you, Lemuel, for joining us today. It's been awesome. It's so fascinating talking with you about all of the projects that you're doing and about the interrelatedness of how you're using pedagogy and guitar arranging. It's just awesome. I'm super jealous over here right now.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that was great. Very nice to meet you and to hear all this from you.
Thank you, man.
Awesome. Tony, do we do the outro lines?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, hold up. Wait, I don't even have it pulled up. Thanks for sticking around to the end. If you like what you saw, please leave us a like and subscribe. Let us know in the comments if you have a question for Lemuel that we didn't answer today.
Yep. And big thank you to Lemuel. Please check out his links. They'll be in the description below and the show notes. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Perfect. Hey.